Happy First Chapter Friday. This week I'm going to be reading Pickle by Kim Baker and illustrated by Tim Probert. Chapter 1, Top Secret. Can I trust you? I mean, to tell you the story, I need to know that you can keep a couple of secrets. I'm already a whole lot of trouble, and it's not just me, but I want to tell you everything that happened. Everything. I'll assume that you can keep the important stuff secret and not pass this book on to anyone older than 20. I've been paying attention, and I'm pretty sure that's when a person's sense of humor starts leaking out. If somebody is that old, this isn't their kind of story anyways. I'm talking about League of Pickle Makers. Can you think of a club a person would be less curious about? That's the point. 5 of us meet on Thursdays after school in the science lab. You'd expect somebody would think that it was a fishy that a group of kids are excited enough about making pickles to meet every week. On meeting days, we take turns making a show out of carrying around some vinegar or a sack of cucumbers. We even have a website. Check it out, www.picklesforever.com. Click on the fuzzy pickle soup recipe and then click on the word simmer down at the bottom. The password is cheese. Now you know we're not really an organization of picklers. Honestly, I don't even like pickles that much. Only a few people know how it all started. Us. If you think you can handle it, you. I know this is First Chapter Friday, but because that's the end of the first chapter, I'm curious to see what they're going to tell us. So I'm going to go ahead and read Chapter 2. Chapter 2, The Balls. One day after school, I looked through online classifieds while I waited for my best friend, Hector, to get back from shoe shopping with his grandma. Then Romo had told Hector and me that he found a practically new skate ramp in the free classifieds this week before. Someone just gave it away. I didn't believe him, so I walked over to his house to check it out. It wasn't that big, but it still took up the whole yard. The plywood wasn't even scuffed. Hector and I live in the same apartment building. We don't have a yard, so a ramp wouldn't work, but I wanted to see what other stuff people were just giving away. There were some cool things. Somebody was trying to get rid of a ferret named Bill, and somebody else was giving away a unicycle with sparkly red seat. I thought about emailing them, but something else caught my eye. Pete's Pizza, the local pizza place with all the games and stuff, had a post for free ball pit balls for anyone who would come pick them up. The post said that the balls were free as is. I dropped a blue raspberry slushie in the ball pit at Pete's when I was 5, and I know Kate McLeod's little brother puked in there at his birthday party, so I had a pretty good idea what as is meant. Still, free. Hector had been faking out a lot lately, so there was only a 50-50 chance he'd even want to hang out when he got back to our building. I called the pizza parlor. The guy who answered said the balls would go to the first person who came and got them. So I grabbed a couple of black trash bags and ran down to Pete's Pizza like my butt was on fire. For future reference, there are no more than 2 bags of balls in a ball pit. A lot more. It smelled funky, but still I took a few bags filling breaks to jump around and do some belly flops. Pete asked me how long I was going to take, so I filled up the second bag, ran home, and stashed them in my bedroom. I grabbed the box of garbage bags on my way out, and I made 6 more trips. I'm not going to lie, the closer I got to the bottom, the dirtier the balls got. I found a purple earring, 2 different sets of keys, 3 half-eaten lollipops, and more than a few pizza crusts, and a copy of Cricket in Times Square with a ripped cover. I think Pete was getting pretty tired of me carrying bags of stinky balls out of his pizza parlor because he said I could use the safety nets around the pit to haul the rest of the balls. After I scooped up the very last ball, Pete gave me some free pizza like I'd done him a favor. It was a really big pit. My bedroom was full after the first 20 bags, so I left the nets in the living room. I didn't really have a plan for what I would do with the balls, so I figured I'd watch some TV until Hector got back. My dad came home just as Best Bloopers ended, and the first thing he said was, "What's that smell, Ben?" I told him about the major free ball score, but he didn't share my enthusiasm. "You can't keep them here," was the second thing he said. Did I mention that my dad is over 20? Therefore, he has sprung a humor leak. He walked around the apartment opening windows. "Get rid of them. It smells like Parmesan cheese factory in here." I think they smell like feet. Parmesan cheese smells like feet, he said. He was right, but I didn't think I could take the balls back to Pete. I had eaten the pizza already, so it felt like a done deal. He might not be happy to see me back, and Pete's a big guy. You can't keep them here. Comprendes? My dad said. He started out in English and ends in Spanish because he means business. I thought about just dumping the balls straight out of our living room window so they would roll down the street. We live on a pretty big hill, and the millions of balls bouncing and rolling away would be something to see. But it was a lot less awesome than to clean up the balls or have cars crush them when they got pummeled with giant colored hail. The police might not like it. I'm pretty sure Pete would rat me out if they started asking questions. For a guy who runs a pizza place with video games and stuff, he doesn't seem crazy about kids. I got a jolt like something had slammed an energy drink, and I knew what I could do. I'll take care of it, I said, and headed to the 6 blocks back to school. The school was still open for clubs. Hector and his grandma were in the front hall talking to Leo Saylor and his dad. Hector had a bag from shoe station. I couldn't see what kind of shoes were in the bag, but I could guess. Hector's grandma usually picks his shoes out. They never have shoelaces because she doesn't want him to trip. They usually have Velcro straps and thick, heavy soles that are supposed to keep his spine straight or something. I ducked behind a big fountain in front so they wouldn't see me. I was on a mission. Hector's grandma is the principal, which is why Hector always stays out of trouble. I thought about getting his attention and filling him in about my ball pit plan, but I knew what his reaction would be. He looks like a tough guy, but having a principal for a grandma has done something to his nerves. Our homeroom is around the back on the first floor, so it'd be easy to scope out. It was empty and the windows were open. Perfect. I went straight back to my apartment for the bags. My dad was watching a movie in the living room, so I dropped them off the fire escape as quietly as I could. If I wasn't gone by the time the movie finished, he would ask where I was taking them. I heard the end of the music just as I climbed out of the window. I carried the bags back down the hill to our school and stashed them in the bushes under the windows. Then I ran back for more. I was on the last trip carrying one of the big nets full of the balls over my shoulder when I smacked into Leo's dad coming out of the school. Mr. Saylor is huge, so I almost dropped the balls all over the sidewalk. He talks a lot about how he played football and water polo in college, and I believe it. Leo is in soccer, junior baseball, young golfers, wrestling, and basketball. He falls asleep in class sometimes. I started to fall, but Mr. Saylor grabbed my shoulder. It was dark out by then, so I'd hoped that he wouldn't be able to see well enough to recognize my face. I thought about running away, but Mr. Saylor held onto my shoulder with a he-man strength. "Easy, Ben," he said. So much for the non-recognition. He smiled at me and glanced down. Some sort of game night? In the dark, the net just looked like equipment bag. Yeah, game night, I said. I held my breath and waited for him to ask what sport Leo wasn't playing yet. "Go Beavers," he shouted and walked past me down the sidewalk. I ran back to the classroom window and started throwing balls in like it was warming up for the mound. I might play more sports as if they were exciting as this. It gave me goosebumps. I may or may not have been laughing like a lunatic all by myself. I could have stayed there all night throwing them in one by one, but I had to get back home before my dad freaked out. I poured the rest of the bags through the opening, and then it was done. I shut the window so everyone would be more confused about where the balls came from, but the smell sticking to my hands wasn't grossing me out. I didn't want to sit in a class that smelled like that tomorrow, so I reopened it. I couldn't see into the classroom very well, but it looked like the balls were pretty deep. I just stood there, taking it all in, until I heard their footsteps. I ducked into the bushes, and Leo and Hector walked by. I worried that they had heard me giggling to myself and would investigate, but they didn't. I stayed hidden till I heard the gym door slam, and the night was quiet again. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to the first 2 chapters of Pickle, and if you're really intrigued, you can go pick it out in your local library and continue reading. Come find me at the beginning of next year and let me know if you continued reading.